I bought this really old camera. It's an antique, but I don't intend taking any photos with it. But yeah, it's affected me really deeply, and here's why. So here's one. What do you think of this?
Here's one.
Be interested in your opinion at the end of the video and see what your thoughts are. So last summer I was walking on the beach on the Suffolk coast with my wife and eldest daughter. We walked from Aldborough up to Thorpeness. On the way, me and the eldest daughter got chatting about cameras and stuff. As is often the case when that happens, I remember the story that when I was 19, I think 18, 19, I bought a SLR camera, single lens reflex, and this wasn't, it's not like the cameras today, because this was one of the old ones where you had to actually put a film in. What happened was a lot of my friends got into photography. I think one of the guys had his own dark room at home. He had a sort of second bathroom and he converted it to a dark room, and we were very much into black and white photography for some reason, even though colour film was available. I think that was because you're developing your own film. Certainly back then black and white was a lot easier to develop yourself. Anyway, they were all splashing out on sort of what we call proper cameras, the SLR, and I joined in. I bought a Praktica, I think it was, a little Praktica. I don't know what the serial number was or the the model number or anything, but in the camera magazines I read back in the day, it seemed to be a good budget choice if you're just starting out. Anyway, I had that camera for many years, and when the eldest daughter came along, I was still sort of playing about with photography and took some pictures of her as a toddler, especially on birthdays and stuff. What you've got to remember is, back in the days of film, you only had a certain number of shots. You had to pay for film and pay for developing. So like a small film was 12 shots, and the next size up I think was 24. But if you really wanted to push the boat out, the maximum number you could get on a roll was 36 shots. Seems incredible today when with your phone and everything, you just take thousands and thousands of photos without even thinking about any limitation. Anyway, life carried on and the girls started growing up, and I think when the eldest daughter was about 14, she was interested in photography and taking pictures, and I sort of gave her my Praktica. I said, go and play with this, see what you think, see what happens. Apparently it really affected her. She really loved photographing with a decent camera. But of course on my Praktica you had control over all the settings. I don't think there was any automatic settings. I think you had to kind of set all the manual settings yourself to get the picture. Anyway, she took off with the camera and really liked it and kind of took charge of it for many years. And then on her school work experience, she got a job working with a professional photographer, and she now runs her own photography business, Beckett Egan Photography. I can highly recommend. But anyway, here's her website, you can go and check her out. But I never imagined just giving a teenager my old camera would have had that effect. When the youngest daughter was a bit older, I gave the old Praktica to her. Again, it was still in the days of film really, and she really enjoyed it. She got into photography and she had a little business for a while. Then of course all the digital phenomena kicked off, and phones started getting cameras in them, and then the quality became so good that digital cameras actually replaced the film cameras for the most part. And fast forward a few more years, and the grandson went to college and then university, and I think one of the projects was doing something, learning old school film cameras. So he took the same old Praktica off, and he's taken some photos, enjoyed that, and we've managed to find somewhere he's managed to find somewhere to get the photos developed. So that's kind of a story in our family, and we were just chatting about that because it amazes us that a camera I bought when I was a teenager has affected kind of 3 lives. 3 people have become involved in photography. So me and the eldest, when we were walking to Thorpe Nest, we were just chatting about that camera and the thing of it, and I think my daughter asked who was the photographer when I was a kid, and there aren't really, there are very, very few photos of me as a kid, because we had a camera in the family, but it was my mum really who was, if we had a photographer, I think it was my mum. Sure, when we got older we all had these cheap plastic pocket cameras, Instamatic I think they were called. Anyway, what happened then was I remembered the camera that my mum had. I remember it very distinctly. It was quite an unusual camera. I couldn't remember the brand or anything, but the lens you look through for like the viewfinder was actually on top of the camera, and it was an unusual shape, and I've never forgotten it really. And so there I was describing the shape of this camera to my photographer daughter, and sort of saying I've got a couple of old photos of me when I was a kid that were taken on this camera. I mean, the main one is this one. I would have probably been about 5 or 6, so that's 1962, 1963. It's just me and my brothers playing in our backyard. So we're just at this point where describing the old camera, and then we came off the beach and went into Thorpe Nest. We decided to go and get a coffee or something, coffee and tea at the shop there. So it's opposite the boating lake. It's a weird kind of shop that kind of has sort of well, I would call it junk, they may call it antique novelties or something. And we're just looking round at the various retro stuff. To my amazement, there was my mum's camera. Not the exact one, but the camera I'd been describing to my daughter. And I picked it up and checked it was the actual one. Now I've got a very deep memory of it, because when my mum confirmed it was old and wasn't going to be used anymore, it was broken, I asked her if I could dismantle it. The reason I wanted to dismantle it was that that summer some of my mates had bought magnifying glasses. We were setting fire to bits of paper and straw with the sunlight. However, I didn't have a magnifying glass, but I realised that the square lens in the top of my mum's camera was actually effectively a magnifying glass. And so I prized the metal and it was metal, it wasn't plastic. I prized the metal camera open and got the square lens out. That was my magnifying glass for many years. So obviously the half an hour or so it took me to get a screwdriver and prise the lens out without breaking the lens means I've got a good working memory of exactly what the camera looked like. I just assumed that all those sorts of cameras had long gone. I didn't expect to find one in a shop, even if it was an antique shop. Anyway, we sat down, we had a coffee. I showed my eldest daughter, I said, I think this is the camera my mum had. Sat down, had a coffee, and I couldn't get it out of my head. Anyway, it was 20 quid, and apparently it was in working order, if only you could find the old-fashioned film for it. And so I bought it, and not only that, I had the instruction manual. I was going to make this video straight after the incident, but something happened. It's been a bit profound for me. So my mum died quite young. I think she was 56, 57, and died very suddenly. It was a big big shock, and so I do carry a sort of wound from that time of the shock, the trauma of your mum being there 1 minute and then she's gone. But this strange thing of finding a replica of her old camera that we had when I was a kid, just kind of brought a strange comfort, really. Although the memory of that time is still traumatic when I think about it. Yeah, just touching this old camera that my mum had in her hands. Obviously it's not the exact one, but it's just something about that thing from childhood being back there that's linked to my mum, who was a photographer. But how strange when we just described this old camera from my childhood to my daughter, and then you walk into a junk shop and there's the exact camera on the shelf. So it may just be a coincidence, or it may be a bit spooky, I don't know.
Spooky.
What do you think? Leave a comment in the comment section below. Is there something you found after a loved one died that's brought comfort? If you feel able, share that below. That'd be good. So if you found that video helpful, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe and the little bell notification, and you'll get notifications of new videos, and I'll see you next time.